Hello, this is a tutorial on the use of variables in the default language in Sema. A variable in a computer programming language is a named place where we store some information. In Sema, everything is a signal, so we can think of a variable in Sema as a named place that we route a signal through, a bit like an audio channel or a channel on your mixer. Here's how we do it in the default language. Let's say we want to make a bunch of oscillators and mix them together. So we'll just keep this example very, very simple. I'm going to make a sine wave oscillator here. And we could listen to this. So I'm going to start off my audio engine by clicking on this icon here. And let's just listen to what that function produces. So we get a 100 Hertz sine wave there. I'll just adjust the volume of that. And let's say we want to mix it with another sine wave as well. So let's choose one an octave above. This is 200 Hertz. Let's have a listen to that. And if we want to mix them together, we could put them all as individual parameters in the mix function, but it might be a bit more readable to assign them to variables instead. So what we do to create a variable in the default language, we put a name between colons. So I'm going to call this oscillator 1, and I'm going to call this one oscillator or osc2. And what's happening here is the results of this function are being stored in this variable here, and the results of this function, this 200 Hertz sine, are being stored in osc2 here. So let's mix them together. So once I've stored information in these variables, I can then go and use it later. It's making my code a little bit more readable. So I'm going to put these two variables into a mix function, like so. And I'm going to put the listening operator on it so we can hear it. So that's the mixture of those two variables there. Again, we can just mess around with these parameters a bit. Variables can go at any position in the Sema default language. They don't just have to go on the left side of a statement like you might expect in many traditional programming languages. So let's have a look at a slightly more complex statement. I'm going to make a mix again of these sine waves. Let's multiply them actually. Let's hear what that whole statement sounds like. Now, what if we want to assign variables not to this whole section? We can record the results of this whole function by putting a variable here, but maybe we also want to record the results of these single functions in other variables. So I could put a variable here, and I can put a variable here. And so that means that this function is getting routed into this variable here, this function is getting routed into this variable here. Now let's have a listen to those. So what I could do, I could put them through a distortion function, for example. So if I listen to the whole lot, we need a parameter here. So that's listening to everything. I can listen to just that oscillator 1 on its own by listening to that variable, or oscillator 2 by listening to that variable. And this kind of routing comes in useful a bit later if you get into the machine learning side of things, where you might want to listen to different elements of your code block before they get sent off to be processed by a model. So that's the basics of variables in the Sema default language.